Hi guys, in this tutorial I will show you how to create a multipass render of this tool to compositing it in Photoshop. Particularly I will like to show you how to remove the background and separate the object from the background to choose an appropriate background in post-production. So let's jump in. First thing to do is go to Render Settings, V-Ray Bridge, Multipass, and enable it. In Multipass options, I will apply post effects that this pass allow V-Ray to work with multipass renderings. When we done this, I can select the output path for my render, so I select this and name it Stool Multipass. Copy this one and paste it. In this example I will show you how to work with JPEG option, but it's the same with other file format. Now save the scene. Now in V-Ray Bridge I'm going to go to the V-Ray Multipass Manager, open it, render elements, standard channel, I choose reflection because I have reflection on my materials, global illumination that will allow us to change a little bit the lighting of the scene, diffuse, but I don't think I will not use it in my multipass, but we show you later. Shadow is important, and I want to have the lighting pass and an object select. Select my object select pass and select ID of 1. In this tutorial I have only one object select ID, but you can have many of them for everything you want to be separate from the other parts. Check it on consider for anti-aliasing and do the same for all the paths I have in the scene. Okay, close the multipass manager, save, and do a quick test render. Okay, as you can see, my image is washed out. This is because when you activate the multipass manager, Cinema 4D doesn't recognize all the settings of V-Ray in the color management. So we can stop it. Now go to project settings, edit project settings, and turn off linear workflow. So now if you render again the scene, everything is in the correct color profile, but we can adjust it later in Photoshop. So now we render the scene. For test render, and see what is the results. If you go to layer, you can see the creation of the layers we can choose. We have choose from the multipass manager. So the lighting, the shadow, the diffuse one, the global illumination, the reflection layer, and the object select. This doesn't work in this time, so we stop the render because I forgot to apply to the Stool basic group a V-Ray bridge compositing tag. In this compositing tag properties, I will change this object ID number to 1, like the multipass manager. So now everything is good, and now we can do the render. See the full image. It's selecting an image and go to history to see our render history. And now in the object I select pass, okay, we see a map of white and black that allow us to mask the render in Photoshop. When the render is finished, we pass through Photoshop to complete this tutorial. Okay, good. The render is good. It's changed a little bit from the previous lessons because the color gamma interpreted from V-Ray with the multipass manager on is a little bit different, but we can adjust it in Photoshop. But I like these results. It's very good contrasted from the inner parts from the other parts of the stool, but we fix it later in Photoshop. So we jump in Photoshop. Okay guys, we have imported the rendered image in Photoshop, and now we can post-produce it with Photoshop. So the first thing to do is import in this project the multipass object select ID, center it on the scene, press enter. Now with the rectangular selection, select all the information of this layer, copy with Ctrl C, turn off this layer, and at the background object add a mask, a layer mask. With Alt selected, click with the left mouse button on this mask, is white in this moment, and apply the Stool Multipass Object Select with Ctrl V. Okay, good. And now we have separated the object from the background, but we have lost our shadows, and in this case not, but if we have some reflection on the ground, we have to re-import this in my composition. So to do this, I go to my render passes, import my shadow, center it on my scene, press enter. These shadows are very noisy because we have done quick render in Photoshop, and the shadows are inverted. So now Ctrl E to invert this object and place it under the layer of the stool. Okay, now we can apply this like about 25% to have a nice shadow area. Okay, now it's time to add a background, or you can export it with PNG to have to website or some other application. In this case we have no background. So if you want to have a background, add a new layer, place it under the shadow and apply a color to it. Let's choose oh God, maybe a bluish one. Let's try it. It's only an example, so feel free to apply any color you want to your background. Okay, good. As you can see, we have the shadow. In this case are very noisy shadow because we don't have pumped up my anti-aliasing and the sampling of V-Ray render to have just a quick render. But if you apply some sample in V-Ray, the shadow will go to have a nicer look. Okay, I think my render is good, but I prefer to have a different background, so I delete it, create a new layer, place it under my shadow and give it a little bit of gray background. Okay, good. As you can see, if I turn it on, my shadow, it's apply to this scene. Now I think I got to reduce the power of this shadow to about 20, and if you wanted to delete some shadow that you don't want, create a layer mask, and with the brush tool, like about 108 in soft brush, with the black color, you can delete. Okay, okay, doesn't work, I don't know why, but okay, I want to invert this selection. I not one things, undo this thing, and the shadow is good to multiply it, not to leave it normal, because it's apply very good, deleting the white area and only preserve the black point of this image. Okay, and now I can delete my little noisy shadow when we doesn't in the place we don't want to be applied. Okay, let's take a little bit more bigger brush, delete it, and there we go. I feel it's my result is good, and that is. If you want to apply some more reflection to your object, you can import our reflection of this tool, place it over the final render, set in screen or add, and work with the opacity to create a nicer effect. It lighted up some parts in the top of the stool and the back legs of the stool. Save the PSD, and that is it. Maximize compatibility. Okay, and that is it, guys. It's a simple and quick method to change the background and do a little bit of compositing in Photoshop from Multipass Render. That is it, and I hope you enjoy it, and see you in the next tutorial. Bye!